Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to Oxford, Mississippi for a look inside interior designer Priscilla Wright's darling home. Fondly regarded as the tree house, Priscilla's colonial-style home is enveloped by gorgeous historic trees that line the property. Inspired by her surroundings, Priscilla has beautifully woven greens and leaf patterns into her classic and traditional decor. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hello, Homeworthy. Welcome to our home in Oxford, Mississippi. I'm Priscilla Wright, and I'm so excited to welcome you here and show you around our home today. Come on in. Hello, my name is Priscilla Wright, and I'm an interior designer. Welcome to our home called the Tree House in Oxford, Mississippi. We call it the Tree House because during our renovation, a friend visited it, and he said this is just like living in a tree house because we have many beautiful historic trees surrounding the property. And the house is open plan. This is our great room, we call it. And you'll see there's no entry hall, you just walk right in. So I used this 17th century English table as an anchor for the entry and arranged the gathering area and the dining area on either side. I always have books. I have an extensive collection of design books. We have a lot of gardening books, history books, holiday books, so I change the books according to what's going on. I always have something living in the middle of the table, flowers, a plant, etc., because I think it's very important to have something alive in your house besides you. And then this lantern hanging over the table is from London, and you'll note it has the acorn finial, which you'll see as a recurring theme in the tree house. And then to kind of expand the entry, I bought this contemporary lacquer table designed by Veer Grenny for the Lacquer Company. So as I love mixing modern pieces and antiques of all kinds, these Brighton Pavilion style bamboo armchairs were a garage sale find, and it was quite a garage sale. Gail Getty of the Getty family was moving back to Italy about 40 years ago, and my husband and I were out walking in the hills and we came upon her sale. She was lovely. We agreed on a price for the chairs. We walked home. There was no Venmo in those days, so we brought her a check and each of us carried a chair home. So that's kind of a fun way to remember our time living in the Hollywood Hills. Then this is our gathering area. And the sofa is vintage Baker, upholstered in an equally vintage Colfax and Fowler Gaffrage velvet. These tables are very interesting. When I was working for Suzanne Reinstein and Associates, we had a commission to kind of refresh a very prestigious private club in California. The original designer was Frances Elkins, who was a visionary designer of the early 20th century. And we were hired because, first, we knew who she was, and they knew we would respect what she had done. So these tables are called muffin stand tables, and we reproduced some more of them for the job, which is quite an undertaking because there are a lot of different components, all done by independent craftspeople. And you'll see they have the acorn finial. I didn't add that. And then this beautiful curved leg, almost like ends in almost an elephant's foot. So I decided after all that work I needed two for myself, and I'm glad I have them. These chairs my aunt gave me, and in the 90s when we had no furniture, they're originally from my uncle's shoe store in San Diego. and they're also Baker. They are Louis Kahn style faux toys, and I reupholstered them in red leather and painted them dirty white. And that has really stood the test of time. The leather has some patina on it, but I think that just adds to the charm of the chairs. They're also really comfortable. This ottoman I designed myself many years ago, and this is Colfax & Feller Malabar fabric that I bought from a neighborhood garage sale, and I had just enough to make this ottoman, so that worked out really well. The window shades are a fabric by the esteemed antiquarian and designer Robert Kime in England, and they're called Queen Anne panel. They're inspired by a 17th century Indian quilt. He did a lot of antiquing and gathering in India and also in the Far East. And so I love this fabric because I don't know what came first, the fabric or the colors in the room. I think it was the fabric, so I based all the colors on this pattern. And then you'll see over the mantle is a new piece that I commissioned. It's a collage of dried flowers and leaves by the esteemed tastemaker Marion McAvoy. And I sent her a piece of the fabric and a photograph of it that she used as inspiration. So it was really nice to tie everything together with this new piece. It's from Suzanne's daughter's store, KRB in New York City. And also these are new hurricanes copied from Antique in the amber glass, are also from KRB. I am an 8th generation Californian. My husband, we met in California, but he's originally from Mississippi. So we always knew we would return, or he would return and I would follow to live in Oxford one day. He is a big Ole Miss football fan, and our family spent a lot of time down here through the years, and we all love it. So we decided during the pandemic that was a good time to move here. And we found this house. It's a new house. It was built in 2016. I had never lived in what I consider a new house. And the architectural style is basically a colonial style with some southern elements. The outside, they're very wide porches. And so it's a very livable house. And when we walked in, it was a football condo, and it had outlets for 4 televisions in the living room and a lot of things that we weren't really that interested in, but we weren't living in it part-time. This was our home, so it was very important to both of us that we create a home here. Now I'll take you over to the other side of the room, which is the dining library area. And when I first saw this house, this was the house that we bought, and it was in a great location. We liked this style. I had never lived in an open plan house before, so I really had to think through how to arrange everything, and no plans came with the house. So I was kind of winging it. And when the movers were here, they asked, well, where do you want this? Where do you want that? And I had it in my head and roughly on paper, but I kind of did it on the fly, and I haven't moved very many things. I've added things, but the basic pieces were in place the day we moved in, so that worked out quite well. And we have a lot of books, and we gave away a lot of books when we moved, so we decided to build a bookcase here, and I've always loved dining rooms with books. I guess you would say the saying, books do furnish a room, I firmly believe in. So we built this wall-to-wall bookcase, and then I put the dining table and chairs in front of it, and it makes it a very convivial, warm space. We've had a lot of fun dinner parties here. This table is French, as are the chairs. 19th century, early 19th century in the Louis Kahn style. And I love this table because it has these beautiful feet, which are kind of jolly in a way. They make me feel happy when I look at them. And then the chairs, I bought these separately and put them together. These are not a set. And the chairs are very comfortable because the seat widens out at the ends. So you think, oh, they're going to be uncomfortable French chairs, but they're actually very comfortable to sit in. It also expands, and we can cram around 10 people around this table once you pull the leaves out. And I have 10 Victorian ballroom chairs hidden up in the attic, which work well to do that. My first confession about being a hostess is my daughter told me I should go to Chinaholics Anonymous because I have so many sets of dishes, and from my grandmother, both sides of my family, my mother's, my aunt's, my own. I gave away quite a few things when we moved, and the woman who helped me move in, she said, please tell me you don't have any more dishes. So before we redid our kitchen, I had sets of dishes crammed all over the house. So that was a big part of our kitchen renovation. So I love to choose my china. I love to mix and match. I have some modern plates that Christopher Spitzmiller gave me, his marble plates in pink, which come in, I use them at almost every party for something. And I do candles on the table. I wouldn't say I'm an over-the-top host, but I do love candles, and I love to have the silver, all the things that make entertaining special. Of course, cloth napkins. I have probably 200 napkins. I have my grandmother's damask napkins from probably the early 40s, so I love to use those, and I have new sets, and so I love to just think it all through. I do think that even if you're having 6 to 8 people, I love to have place cards for people because then you avoid that awkward pause where everyone kind of stands at the table and doesn't know where to go. So that's a tip I think that should come back, that people should use more often. Then we have our little library stairs, which come in handy. This chair is a library reading chair, and it's very comfortable. It has a little poof, needlepoint poof underneath it. This lamp and table were my father's, and I've always loved it because, again, I love the feet, and it comes in, it's really great light for reading, so I do spend a lot of time here, even just kind of contemplating all the books. When I talk to clients about decorating, and this is how I approach it, I don't call it traditional, I think it's classic. There are classic rules that if you follow about placement and those sorts of things, if you have absorbed those classic rules, it makes your house very comfortable. People don't know why, but that's a big part of it. And I would say I tend more, if you look around here, you would say that's a maximalist, but my approach is really more minimal in that I don't have piles and piles of stuff at one time. I'm a big editor. So I love when I work with clients, I help them edit their collections, no matter what they may be. Many times people will have a lovely collection of, say, Peruvian pottery, but it's scattered all over their house. So, I try to bring it together, and collections make much more of an impact when they're together. Also, I think comfort is key. If you're not comfortable, it's just not a fun place to be. So I'm a stickler for comfort in my design in terms of lighting, seating, proportion, and then collected. As you can tell, I've collected things for myself throughout. I have things in here from before I got married in this house. And if you buy, Suzanne, my boss, always said, if you buy one good thing a year, and it doesn't have to be expensive, it could be a small vase, it could be a wonderful chair, which might be more expensive, a beautiful wicker basket. If you buy one good thing a year, at the end of 10 years, you have 10 good things. And so as you add and collect that way, it brings a lot of your personality into your home. And it doesn't look like you just went to a furniture showroom and checked things off the box. So that's my approach to decorating. I also love color. I think that's probably growing up in a mixed Latin family in California, lots of color. And I'm what's called a tetrachromat. I have an extra cone in my brain that perceives shades and hues of color very distinctly. And I didn't know why I could pick pink. I love to pick out paint colors, which is it's hard to do, but that's one of my favorite things. So now I'm going to take you through this vestibule, which holds our bar area, which is a lot of fun with this little sink and all the accoutrements that you need to make a drink, and it really comes in handy. And then on the other side is our butler's pantry, and there's a pass-through, and I wanted to show you that I had when we redid the kitchen, I had very deep drawers made for all of my various china patterns. So some are also tucked into the island cupboards, but I did manage to collect most of it in one place. These are the Christopher Spitzmiller marble plates that I use all the time. They come in zillions of colors. You can also do a whole set of china. And so that kind of brings the modernity in. And then I have lots of different plates. These are old Wedgwood Chinese gate dessert plates. I have, what do I have in here? I have a set of bowls that are great for gumbo from, again, antique Wedgwood. I have, let's see, these are dinner plates from that same pattern. This is called charnwood. I bought these dishes about, 35 years ago, maybe 30, because these are from Emma Bridgewater in England, and I had picked out some plainer dishes, and our daughter, who is now a stylist and a florist, she said, Mom, she was 7. She said, Mom, those are so boring. I said, well, why don't you pick them out? So she picked these out, and we've loved them ever since. And you can see they pick up a lot of colors in our kitchen. So again, what came first, the plates or the kitchen colors? Now let me take you into the kitchen. Now we're in the kitchen, and the kitchen looks in some ways very similar to the kitchen that we purchased, but we put a lot of thought into storage, especially things like cookware, trays, more china in the island. So I have a collection of green majolica plates from England and France, and I decided to use these as a focal point of the kitchen design. So that drove, color of the cabinets and all that sort of thing. And I think they're fun and cheerful and give kind of some spirit to this area. I'm also a big fan of using real furniture in kitchens, particularly in open plan, so you get more of a room feel and it doesn't look so clinical. This antique trolley is great for extra overflow display space. You'll see some more dishes there. And on top I have a vintage ceramic lamp, a basket for mail, and this wonderful organizer for cards and invitations and that sort of thing. So that comes in very handy. These stools for the island are vintage pub stools that I ordered actually all the way from Newport Beach, California, and they're really comfortable, so everyone loves those. And this cashpo, a good friend of mine bought from an antique dealer in Memphis, and he said, I know you love basket weave, which is another one of my loves, so he snagged this for me. And I like it because it hides the faucet from a lot of angles. So again, it just kind of touches that you don't feel like you're in the middle of a clinical kitchen when you're in a big room. This settee has been with me for many years, and I had it slip covered here. Oh, Lulu, you're here. This is Lulu. She's a rescue cat, very sociable. Yeah, you like it here, don't you? So that is basically the kitchen. And it was, you know, like any remodel, it's horrible when you're going through it, but at the end you forget and you enjoy your beautiful new space. Much like the great room in the front, our kitchen spills over into our snug where we spend most of our time. I did create somewhat of an illusion of a vestibule, but they're basically one large room. Now here we are in the snug, and I'll start with a special piece. This secretary was my grandmother's. That's probably from about the 1940s. And I always wanted to paint it, but my mother had a fit. So I decided that instead, to kind of brighten it up, I would line it with this marbled English paper. So that does the trick, and it's fun to display different family things. I have a collection of royal coronation china. And this is a Regency inkwell that Suzanne gave me, and I put flowers in it. And here's my grandmother right here. This table is a Japanese coffee table from the 1950s that my father commissioned when he was stationed in Japan. So it's been with me my entire life. I think I learned to walk around it. And I love the raisin color of the lacquer. And it's reflected in the beautiful Tree of Life Claremont fabric that's on the Bridgewater club chairs here that we've had for many years. And I'm just so happy to have it here. This piece of pottery was my first purchase in Mississippi. It's from McCarty Pottery in Marigold, Mississippi. I didn't know about it, but it is very famous in the South. And this beautiful glaze kind of echoes the Mississippi River. There's always a mark of the Mississippi River in the pottery. So that's very special. And it just so happened to fit with the colors so beautifully, which is also a bonus. Then this chest of drawers I bought at auction in New Orleans. We used to buy a lot of antiques from New Orleans for our clients and for the shop. And this is obviously painted. It's either English or French. I bought it for myself for our breakfast room in LA because I always wanted a painted chest in a particular spot. And a very famous interior designer saw it in our office and wanted to buy it for herself, but I had to break it to her that it was mine. It did take some knocks during the move, but we've had it somewhat restored, and we're very happy that it survived. Then on the other side, this garden table is inspired by the garden table that John Fowler did. John Fowler of Colfax and Fowler in London in about the late 40s, early 50s. And I love the scalloped apron. And so scallops have gone in and out of style for a long time. But I think as long as you don't overdo something, they're very classic. The antique pine mirror was my mother's. Also, these were hers. These are hand-colored engravings of snipe birds. I didn't know what they were until I read the back label, but I think they're very interesting, and I really enjoy them. I've always loved interior design. My mother was a talented interior designer, as was my stepmother. And for my first career, I went to a different place. I had a long career in advertising at a major advertising agency in Los Angeles. And then I quit working and spent 7 years at home with my children, which was very important to me, and so that was wonderful. They didn't need me anymore, and I was looking for a new career. Suzanne Reinstein was a neighbor of mine, and she had helped me a little bit with our house, and we were friends. And I thought, well, I think I want to become an interior designer. So I talked to her about it, and she said, well, first, you know, can you come and run our shop, Hollyhock? So I started out in the shop, and I really learned interior designer from the best person I could have learned from by osmosis. I did take a few classes at the UCLA Extension course, which is wonderful. And then when we closed the shop, I started working in design full time and just have never looked back and loved it ever since. All right, enough about me. I want to tell you more about the house, in particular this room. As soon as we moved in, the afternoon sun in here is blinding. So I bought these chick shades that are Indian, and we had these for the first couple years all by themselves. And you can see that they filter the light, and you see the beautiful green outside. And then I added these soft bottom Romans in a Name Same shade fabric. And so they work really nicely together. And when it's cold, we just put everything down to keep the drafts out. So that's the story on these window shades. I also have a chick shade in our utility room, and I highly recommend them because they are visually very appealing, they filter the light, and they just really are an asset in just about any room. Okay, I think I've shown you about everything in this room, and I'd love to show you our powder room. Come on, Lou, let's show everyone the powder room. Go on. Here we are in the powder room, and in a small space such as this, I love to use an all-over print. It adds a lot of charm, it's fun, you don't see it all the time, so you don't get tired of it. So here I used Cypress Paisley from Howe in London for the wallpaper and the skirt sink and the shades. And then I also included in this room, I have a big collection of English engravings and silhouettes, and I add to them all the time. So that's where these are in this house. Also, this is a gentleman's shaving stand, which comes in handy in a tiny room like this, that there's really no cabinetry to keep all the things that come in handy in this room. So you have items at the ready. Now I'd love to take you upstairs to show you some of our rooms up there. On the stairs, I took the treehouse and leaf idea to a new level with this gorgeous wallpaper, which is trails of oak leaves from George Spencer Design. And fortunately, it did come in a greeny color. At the top of the stairs, I have this charming bookcase that actually someone in my neighborhood had thrown it away many years ago. So I brought it home, and I used a lot of ebony stain, and it looks wonderful. This is what's called a waterfall, the way the shelves are designed here. So our first room at the top of the stairs is our guest bedroom, and let me take you inside. And this room really reflects, I think, the most treehouse effect of all of the rooms, as you have the windows on the two sides and the beautiful trees outside. I made the window shades and the window seat from repurposed show house curtains that I brought with me, which I think they work really well in here. And I just want to talk about these tables. You know, this isn't a huge room, so these are custom tables from Fabulous Things in Richmond, Virginia. And I love the size of them, and they're very practical with this big drawer and also the shelf. So you can have a lot of storage there. And this armoire was from one of our neighbors in Los Angeles who was downsizing. And it was another one of those things where I told the movers, put it here, and it's been here ever since. So that has worked out really well. And the last thing I'll point out in this room is this chair. This was in our living room in Los Angeles, and I slip covered it in this charming Pierre Frey fabric that I thought would work well with the greens. It has some burgundy in it. It's just has a lot of movement and makes this stolid old chair a little bit more lively. So I think that works well. Now we're coming into my favorite room in the house, our primary bedroom. And this is why we needed a very large room with very tall ceilings in the house that we purchased here. Suzanne gave me this bed when I helped her write her first book. It's from the 1980s. It's Colfax and Fowler from London. The fabric is fuchsia chintz, and I want to show you a few details here. The ruched top of the bed with the rosette is very special, and it's actually kind of a southern bed, if any of you are familiar with southern decorating over the years. And another touch is the trim fabric has these pinked edges that's done with a pinking machine. And I think it's something that would be fun to bring back. We won't call it a scallop, we'll call it a pinked edge. This table was my father's, and the chair, which is a great dressing table. And this bench was actually one of my mother's neighbors that had recovered. This chair we've had for years. I reupholstered it. And this pillow is a piece of vintage Chelsea textiles that I bought on eBay many years ago, and my mother had it, and then I made it into a new pillow. This cute side table is actually from a junk shop, and we bought it and had copied it for tables made for the shop, and so it comes in very handy here. This sculpture, botanical sculpture, is by a woman named Carmen Almond. It's a French carnation. I happen to be a carnation lover, and it has to be, I think it's just about my favorite possession. And she is now, I believe, living part-time in New Orleans, where she has a gallery of her work, and her work is also featured at the Chinese Porcelain Gallery. I believe it's called in New York City. I love this room because we can enjoy just about everything that we've collected over the years, that you'll also see elements throughout our house. But obviously the bed is very special. And I should tell you that it has to come, we took it all apart and out our second story balcony to get it out of the room in Los Angeles and reassembled it here. So I think when you put a lot of effort into something, you should enjoy it. And I love the colors. And it just, you know, with the windows and the doors here, it's just a wonderful, comfortable place to be any time of day. And I must admit, when we first moved to this house, my husband and I thought we'd made some sort of terrible mistake given the daunting work that we had to do. But now we love this house, and I think home to me is a place that makes you happy every time you come home. Welcome to our primary bathroom. This room was the darkest, most depressing room in the entire house. I think the vision here, I could see elements, but I'm not quite sure what was done, why they did it, etc. But I won't dwell on that. It was, originally we didn't add any square footage. It was this huge room, kind of like a dance hall. And I wanted to bring again the green inside. And I've always loved this Farrow and Ball wallpaper called A Park. So I thought this was the perfect place to use it. And once it went up, I think everyone was very happy with it. Then I have this little chair. I love a little bit of upholstery in a bathroom. This was in our daughter's bathroom in Los Angeles, and I had it reupholstered in a fabric called Bees by Sybil Colfax, which I think really complements the wallpaper. And again, it's very handy to get dressed, put your pajamas down, all that sort of thing. And then this was We had no linen storage or really storage of much of any kind in this house. So we used part of the space for a linen cupboard. I was willing to sacrifice some on the size of the bathtub to get this cupboard made in here. And I used the French way of the check curtains behind and the chicken wire on top, which I think really adds a fun decorative element to this room. Welcome to my husband's favorite room in the house, the front porch. And as you can see, they're extremely wide. We face north, so most of the time you're in the shade. And it's just a wonderful, welcoming place to be, to sit outside with a drink at the end of the day or your coffee in the morning. And he knows all the neighbors that walk their dogs up and down the street. And these rockers were one of our first purchases. We have 4 on this porch and 2 on the upstairs porch, which is also nice in the evening. We painted the ceiling of the porches the traditional southern color, which is haint blue, that is supposed to scare away flies and mosquitoes, as well as haints, which, if you're not familiar, those are a type of ghost. So we seem to be very lucky so far. Home to me is a place that you love to come to at the end of the day, that welcomes you when you wake up in the morning and just makes you happy all the time. Homeworthy, it's been wonderful having you here in our home. I've enjoyed every minute, and until next time, goodbye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.